Somebody's texting me here. Let me see. That was so hard. Oh. That was my wife. Alrighty then. Let's see. How much food is put out for Indy and Franklin? Well, when they're just in there alone and there's no babies, they might get a trout and a couple quail a day or something like that, or a couple trout a day. They really don't. And when I say a trout, just to give you some idea, and it's not always like this, but I'm just going to, and I just happen to have a little leftover here. Let me try to see if I can get it. When I say trout, that's a trout. These are all farm raised, and so they get one of those. Quail, these are farm raised quail. We try to get all of our food farm raised so we know the source, we know how they've been raised, so that there's nothing in this food source that could, cause a health problem for our birds. And anyways, I'm going to eat the rest of this later. Get that. So I hope that answers your question about the food. Now, when there's babies in there, we do feed them twice a day. Sometimes they'll eat some of that in the morning, but oftentimes in the summer, when we have these eaglets in the nest, like right now, it gets so hot here that fish cooks in the sun, and so we replace it in the afternoon to make sure that in the cooler part of the evening or whatever they have some good fresh food. And so there's always, and occasionally you'll see me when I go up and check the eaglets periodically to see how they're doing and maybe make some adjustments to the cams, that I'll also bring up a trout or a quail. All right, so I'm done with Missy's questions. Kathy Mahala, and Kathy, you asked, do you get any business or large corporations to help with this project? And, I mean, that's what we survive on. We do not receive any state or federal funding, never have in the 27 years that I've been doing this. It's all come from corporations and individuals, various levels. So Dollywood is our largest contributor, of course, because they've built us a multi-million-dollar facility here, both on the park and off the park, and they've make a large donation to us every year too. We have the gift shop on the park where all the proceeds benefit the foundation. We have contribution canisters on the park where the guests can drop whatever they want in there. But on that issue, we always need more money to keep our programs going. So I don't want to kind of belabor the point, but if you guys know anybody that's have an interest in supporting Eagles, let me know, and we'd love to talk to them about coming here for a tour and possibly making a large donation. But we accept any size donation. It doesn't have to be a large one. So we appreciate every dollar that we receive. The other question from Kathy, what diseases do eagles get? Well, obviously there's a number of them out there. I mean, there's things like bumblefoot, that's a sore that sometimes eagles get on their foot, that if it's not treated, then eagle can die from it. There's obviously West Nile, there's avian pox, and you know, a number of other things that things in more depth. So let's see. Okay, I'm going to move on to Aussie chatter. Morlock. That's Ben. I guess his human name is Ben. Al, when will you be bringing Challenger to Australia? Well, as much as I'd love to go down under with Challenger, the laws prevent us from going out of the country. There's laws that protect, because the Eagle is so strictly protected, we've never ever been able to transport Challenger into another country, not even Canada. And even though Canada has a lot of Eagles up there, we're not able to go across the lines of into their country. So I would love to go over to see the troops in various countries, and I would have loved to have brought an Eagle with me on a military plane and went to you know, show an Eagle to the troops, but we were never able to do that. The only time that an Eagle came from the United States to a foreign country was when President Reagan was in office, and he gave, I think, a gift of a pair of Eagles to the Berlin Zoo. And that might have been the first time that bald eagles were ever given to a foreign country by the United States. The Canadians can transport bald eagles out of there to any country they desire. Their laws are not the same as our laws here. In fact, there's people who breed them and sell them to various falconers and educational shows over in Europe. Cannot do anything about it. So, okay, this is Shelley. Shelley 9416. When a mate passes on, will they grieve or find another mate? Yes, that often happens. That when because bald eagles do mate for life, when their faithful companion should die by accident or other reasons, oftentimes the eagles will find another mate. Give you an example of a nest up in Ohio. We got a call from a lady that we know up there that's she's a nest watch person like Gretchen is down in Florida, and she also is affiliated with a raptor center, I believe, up there in Ohio. And they had a nest up there. I think there was 2 young in the nest, and something happened. The mother was, or the female was spending a lot of time on the nest and calling out for, I guess, a couple days, 2 or 3 days, for her mate to return, much like you see Independence and Franklin do when they're ready to get up and go out and they want their partner to come in and take over. They'll call for them, and that's what this female did. And everybody was really concerned because they thought that, you know, one parent taking care of 2 babies, there would be somehow the situation would be compromised, and they would lose one of the young or both of the young because the mother had to do all the work. What happened was later on in the nesting season, another male came into the nest. It was actually, I think it was more of an immature looking male, the original mate. So whether those 2 will stay together, it seems like they would, but that was kind of an unusual situation. And let's see. Okay, BG Falconer 46, and he didn't want to give his name, I guess. When Frank or Indy pass, when they die, I guess, if either of them die, I think is what he means, will an effort be made to introduce them to another mate? Yeah, oh yeah, I would imagine in a situation like that, we might have to, they usually like selecting their own mate. We have tried in the past to put a pair together, and sometimes have waited for several years and nothing ever happened. Again, the Eagles have to pick their mate. We can't do it for them. But there probably have been situations in the past where a couple of exhibit birds were put into an exhibit, a male and a female, and eventually they got together and did some nesting and breeding. So that's and now Mary M.O.K. Paco. I never know how to pronounce that. I want to say milk Paco, but it's Mary. After the eaglets fledge, do they come back to the hack tower? Sometimes, after we release eaglets from a hack tower, sometimes we'll put some fish on the roof, maybe on the perches that are outside the hack tower cage, and also on the shore of the lake down below. And we do that just to make sure they have a little bit of fish in case they're not very successful in the first few days out there. But they're usually finding food within a few days. So they don't come back very frequently unless they will come back and find the fish on the rooftop or whatever. They don't come back into the hack cage at all. And of course, the whole principle of hacking is that if you release enough eagles in a certain area that you want to repopulate, some of those birds, when they become sexually mature at about 4 years of age, 5 years of age, because they remember the general location of what they believe to be their nest. And so these three eaglets, when they go to the hack tower, they will identify with that hack tower as being their nest in the wild, because they will have probably 6 or 7 weeks to overlook on the lake and really kind of see what's out there before we actually release them into the wild, lift up the hack cage door. Sometimes we'll leave the gates open, but most of the time we shut them back down again because we're concerned about raccoons getting in to some of the other hack cages, and so we kind of, have to protect the other birds that are still up there. Okay, this is Bardak Tower. Do they need to be trained? Can you explain banding, wing tagging, transmitter, and the purpose? Excuse me. I've got a little bit of... My throat's not in good shape today. Let me see. Another text here. This was Rob. You guys know Rob, one of our our best bird caretakers that we have. He's actually the curator of birds. He says, "Hey, boss man." He always calls me boss man. "Sorry to bother you. I just wanted to tell you thank you again for lunch today." Much appreciated. So, Rob's a hard worker. I've never seen a guy work so hard. So, and he loves the birds. He's got a passion about the birds. So let me get back to the questions that Christine was asking. Okay, how do the eaglets learn to hunt from the hack tower? Actually, they don't have parents to teach them how to hunt, and much of learning to hunt is instinctual. You know, it's an instinct, and it's genetically programmed into their bodies, their minds, their brains. And I can't figure all that out. You know, in the wild, sometimes the young will follow the parent around initially out in the wild, you know, to observe their parents, how they're doing things, but our birds don't. And we've still had great success with them. In all wild nests, though, there's only a certain percentage that are going to survive the first year. And they say that's around 50%, you know, survive the first year. And once they go beyond the year, the chances of them surviving in subsequent years probably goes up to 80% or more. But to answer your question, Christine, God just programmed them to know how to do those things when they leave the nest at about 12 or 13 weeks of age. So.